A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a dramatic escalation of tensions between the Trump administration and American universities, the U.S. Department of Education has frozen over $3.2 billion in federal funding for Harvard University. This decision comes just hours after Harvard rejected demands from President Donald Trump's administration to alter its diversity policies and governance structures. The Department of Education's Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism announced that it would withhold $2.2 billion in multi-year grants and an additional $60 million in multi-year contract value from the prestigious institution. This unprecedented move highlights the growing contentiousness between the federal government and universities, which the Trump administration accuses of succumbing to extreme leftist ideologies. The freeze on funding is part of a broader initiative by President Trump to address what he perceives as a failure among universities to combat anti-Semitism on their campuses. The administration has previously frozen hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding for various universities, pushing them to implement policy changes that align with the administration's agenda. The recent crackdown has raised alarms about potential violations of academic and speech freedoms, particularly as deportation proceedings have begun against some foreign students involved in pro-Palestinian protests, while visas for others have been revoked. In a public letter, Harvard President Alan Garber firmly rejected the Trump administration's demands, stating that they would allow the federal government to control the Harvard community and undermine the university's core values as a private institution dedicated to knowledge and intellectual freedom. He emphasized that no government should dictate what private universities can teach, who they can admit, or which areas of study they can pursue. This sentiment echoes a long-standing belief in academic independence and the importance of protecting the rights of faculty and students from governmental overreach. The Department of Education responded to Harvard's defiance by asserting that the institution's refusal to comply reflects a troubling entitlement mindset prevalent in elite universities, which they argue neglects the responsibility to uphold civil rights laws. The administration's demands included a directive for Harvard to minimize the influence of faculty and students who prioritize activism over scholarship, and to conduct an external audit to ensure viewpoint diversity within academic departments. Additionally, the Department of Education's letter stipulated that Harvard must hire faculty and admit students solely based on merit, eliminating any preferences based on race, color, or national origin. Furthermore, the university is required to screen international students to prevent the admission of individuals deemed hostile to American values and to report any foreign students who violate conduct rules to federal immigration authorities. In response to the potential financial fallout from this funding freeze, Harvard is reportedly seeking to borrow $750 million from Wall Street to mitigate any funding shortfalls. Meanwhile, a group of Harvard professors has initiated legal action to block the Trump administration's review of nearly $9 billion in federal contracts and grants awarded to the university. This conflict comes against the backdrop of heightened tensions surrounding anti-Semitism on campuses, which intensified following pro-Palestinian protests in the wake of the 2023 Hamas attack in Israel and the subsequent Israeli military responses in Gaza. White House spokesman Harrison Fields remarked that President Trump aims to make higher education great again by addressing what he views as unchecked anti-Semitism and ensuring that taxpayer dollars do not support racial discrimination or violence. As the situation unfolds, the implications of this funding freeze could have far-reaching consequences for Harvard and potentially other universities that may find themselves in similar positions. The clash between the Trump administration and higher education institutions raises critical questions about the role of federal funding, academic freedom, and the future of diversity initiatives in American higher education. Harvard's commitment to its principles of independence and intellectual freedom will undoubtedly be tested in the coming weeks as the university navigates this complex political landscape. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.